Alright folks, you know who, coming right back at you for yet another lovely motion picture review. Now I don't review nearly as many old movies as I should, and I'm gonna see if I can change that. I think every time I do a set of movies I should throw in at least one or, preferably more old movies, because I've mentioned on the Pit review that one of my favorite genres is horror movies and slasher movies from the 70s and 80s and stuff like that. And it's obviously that's true, but since I'm a huge movie fanatic, I like all kinds of different movies and genres and sci-fi and all this kind of stuff. From not so much, it's very, I should be noted, I don't really like too much of what they're making now, but from the good old days, like 70s and 80s and some 90s sci-fi and all this kind of stuff. And one of the kinds of movies that I really, really, really like are old movies. The older the better, pretty much. And I'm here to review My Man Godfrey from, I believe it's 1936. If it's not, I'll put the correct year on the screen somewhere for you. But My Man Godfrey. Now, I'm a huge William Powell fan. He's one of my favorite actors. I think he perfectly embodied the 30s. He had that perfect look and even sound in that mustache of the 30s and stuff. I thought he was perfectly embodied and so wonderfully, and he so confidently portrayed that character in all the Thin Man movies, of whatever his name was in that movie. And I thought he was, Thin Man was the first movie I ever saw William Powell in, and that was probably maybe 4 years ago now, and I was like, ever since I saw that, I was like hooked. And like I do with so many movies, I had since ripped the MP3 of the whole entire movie and listened to it going to bed and waking up for work and stuff. So I've listened to Thin Man a lot more than I've seen it. But I found over the years lately that listening to movies, especially when you're going to bed or waking up and stuff, is a really cool way to experience them even more. And you become aware of how much of the movie is actually audio when you simply listen to it. You can experience it so almost completely just by listening to it, so that's a cool side note. But anyway, back to My Man Godfrey. Now, I had originally bought My Man Godfrey. I believe it's public domain, or at least certain versions, crappy versions, are public domain. And I'm sure you can watch it here on YouTube if you'd like to, if you haven't seen it, if you want to go check it out after this review. I had originally got My Man Godfrey on this cheap-ass, no-name DVD, which had 3 or 4 William Powell movies on it. And this was one of them, and I'm like, I probably got it for maybe $3, 3 or 4 movies for $3 at half-price books, and I'm like, William Powell's in it, And it had another, Life with Father, which I started to watch, which I wasn't ridiculously crazy about. Needless to say, I haven't finished it, but, so it had some other William Powell movies on there too, and, so I watched My Man Godfrey, and I was kind of, since then I had researched, the quality of it really sucked, and I kind of like better quality if you can manage that. And I had since looked online and found out that it is a Universal movie, that Universal actually did put out an official DVD of it, and I was like, oh cool, and I had been intending to buy it, and then I forgot about it. And then I think it was just last week or a week before I found it at half-price books, and I'm like, oh yeah, the Universal DVD. And I was like, oh yeah, I was gonna get that, and I forgot about it. So I'm like, I'll snatch it up for $7.49, and I watched it again for the first time after not seeing it for a while, and I'm like, I remember it not being particularly great, kind of annoying, and I was disappointed in that. And I had since actually, this is kind of a funny side note, Lux Radio used to do a lot of obviously radio shows in the old days in the 40s and stuff like that. And I had actually, I think I downloaded the radio show, the adaptation, which I think might have been done in the early 40s possibly, of My Man Godfrey. They did actually, with the original actors, William Powell and Carole Lombard, came back on Lux Radio to perform their parts. And I had since downloaded that from archive.org, I believe, is the website. If it's not, I'll put the correct website on the website on the screen. And I think it's archive.org, and I had downloaded it's like an hour-long Lux Radio adaptation of My Man Godfrey, which I had listened to, again, going to bed and waking up for work and stuff like that. I had listened to much more than I had watched the movie. And I think if you're gonna do I think the best version of My Man Godfrey that I've heard or seen is the Lux Radio version, because it cuts out like 30 minutes of the movie is full of a bunch of just, I don't know, I guess it's a bunch of just, I don't know. I mean, it's called like a screwball comedy, but I just call it a screwball, almost a screwball mess, you know. And so the Lux Radio version, I think, is better because I almost feel like the performances are better, or maybe I just like them more because I heard it more than I seen the movie. But I guess one of my biggest problems with the movie is that the characters, like the mom and even the Carol Lombard character, are so annoying. Like these rich people, these socialite people. Carol Lombard and her mom are like extremely annoying, and I guess maybe having 30 minutes less of them in the Lux Radio version, and also not having to see them, although, I mean, it's Carol Lombard's fine to look at, but maybe just the 30, you know, the 30 minutes less of the story is what makes the Lux Radio version better. But I think it's the movie, you know, it's like a normal movie length where it's like, you know, like 94 minutes long. And I don't know, I guess there's, you know, I looked up on it back when I first saw it online and stuff, and I think they filmed it in a very short period of time, and I think, don't quote me, but I think I remember reading that a lot of it was improvised. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it was shot in possibly like 15 days or 12 days or something. It was ridiculous. It might even, I don't imagine it's single blah blah. I don't imagine it's single digits, but maybe I'll look it up again, and then before this review goes upload, and I'll put, if I can find it, I'll put the number of days approximate or whatever on the screen that it was supposedly shot in. But I remember pretty sure this movie was filmed in not so many days, and ironically, for being kind of a goofy, you know, dumb screwball comedy, which is apparently, like, there were 4 nominations, like, of all 4 categories, which I don't even know what they are. I would imagine it's Best Actor, Actress, and Best Supporting Actor and Actress. There were people nominated in all 4 categories of this movie. And when you watch it, it's just like, you know, if you know anything about me, I don't give a rat's ass about Oscars or Academy Awards anyway. But you look at this movie and you really don't see Oscar or Academy Award anywhere, personally. I mean, William Powell is great as always, but Carol Lombard is just annoying, you know. So whatever, I think one of the best parts of this movie is actually the opening credits, which I think are phenomenal, and when I watch this Universal DVD, it's just so beautifully crisp, and the image is so great compared to that no-name release that I originally got. So, and I actually like, just to be honest, I would have liked to see more William Powell character at the dump. I like that beginning stuff, you know. And what I love about him is, I guess he's a socialite who, I won't bore you with the details, but a socialite who just had a lousy marriage or whatever, and just like, I don't think they really go into it too deeply, but from what I can tell, he was like originally a socialite who had a bad marriage and just wanted to get out of the whole situation, and just walked away from the wife and just basically chose to be homeless, which I don't quite understand or whatever. But I don't know if, presumably thinking that he could go back to normal life at any time he wanted. I don't think it's exactly clear, but what I'm saying is, I like how at the beginning of the movie, like, the character of Godfrey, even though he's like a forgotten man and he's got all the whiskers and all this and that, and he's living in a city dump, he's of course at the very beginning of the movie, when they find him, and these rich people are playing a scavenger hunt, and they go find him to do to actually pick him up and bring him back as the forgotten man, so they can win the scavenger hunt and give him $5. I mean, he's the one who goes up and makes that speech, like, you know, my reason for coming here was twofold. First, I wanted to see what a scavenger hunt was, and then I wanted to see how a bunch of, you know, empty-headed morons conducted themselves. And now I'm going to go back to, you know, a place that actually has some decent people in the city dump. Thank you. You know, and I love that, because that's exactly my mentality. These fucking rich bastards who have no goddamn passion or sense of any true, like, humanity in them, are just playing these fucking stupid games just because it's like a big social bunch of... it's a big social just gathering kind of a, you know, let's see if we can up on one another bullshit and all this kind of stuff. So I loved, for me, the best part of the movie is like the very beginning when I like him when he's, you know, I wish there were more of him, you know, all tattered clothed and whiskered faced in the movie, actually, you know, and then then this Carol Lombard, I guess, character immediately falls from or whatever and decides that he should be the butler, and then he comes into the crazy nutty family and buttles for a while, and I'm going to go 2 stars, My Man Godfrey. It's got William Powell is the one saving grace of this movie. I mean, I'm surprised how attractive Carol Lombard is, like even her body. Like back then, bodies weren't, I don't know, necessarily, I mean, there were beautiful women, but I don't really necessarily think there were like women with amazing asses, and it looks like Carol Lombard has a kind of a nice ass. And amazingly, another interesting side note is William Powell and Carol Lombard had been previously married and had since been divorced when they were divorced when they did this movie, I think, which is just kind of a little interesting side note and an interesting thing that they're able to just kind of cool that they're able to put that divorce aside and work together as professionals and stuff like that. So that was kind of cool. So maybe that about does it for the My Man Godfrey review. It's, you know, I love old movies, but I don't just because a movie is old doesn't mean I love it. I think to myself, gosh, you know, I like a lot of old movies, and I try to figure out why I like them. Do I automatically like it because it's old? Does it get points because it's old? And in a lot of cases, I think it does. I think movies do. Just being able to, I think my favorite era of all time is the first half of the 20th century. I mean, I know it is, like the 30s. And I mean, anytime you can find a movie from like the very early sound era, I love it. Like, you know, Public Enemy and Little Caesar and all this stuff, just at the beginning in the first, you know, several years of the talkie era. And so I don't know how long this review's been going, but that's, what I was saying is about old movies getting points, and I think a lot of times they do, and what I was saying before is because, you know, the 30s and the 40s and stuff are like my favorite couple of decades in the, basically, ever, out of recorded history, you know, so I'd say old movies do, in a sense, get more points for being old, but it's not to say like 2 stars for this, like even if it's something that I don't particularly, there's a bunch of old movies I don't like, and someday I might potentially do, I think I want to do a review, or I mean a video of overrated movies, and you know, there's some old movies that would go into that category which I would consider overrated. So watch out for someday, probably not today, but someday I'm going to do a video called Overrated Movies. And that will obviously, like anything else, would just be my opinion, excuse me, about what's overrated, and I don't believe that what I think is, you know, the final word. It's just my opinion on what movies I believe are overrated, and then it would only make sense at some point to probably do an underrated movies video as well. So thank you very much for watching My Man Godfrey review. Like I say, the movie is probably public domain, is probably here on YouTube, and possibly maybe even the Lux Radio programs on YouTube, but you should be able to find the Lux Radio adaptation of My Man Godfrey at archive.org, and I don't know how you'd find it. Just type Lux Radio Godfrey, My Man Godfrey or something, and maybe you'll find it. But thank you very much for watching, and we will catch you later.
You don't know how nice it is having some intelligent person around. Now! Oh, sit down and talk to me. I like to talk in the morning when your head is clear, particularly when you've been someplace, some Christ knows when, some other night. Christ in the middle of it.
Ah, God.
Oh? I don't like that shit.
First part was squat.
Yes, I know it was, but I stunk up
I
the...
say that.
No, not only does it make me have something to think of. I got that far. Holy Jesus Christ.
Oh, what? Christ, where am I? But something could be done that might make it possible for these fellas in the wintertime to have a better break than I have living down here in this goddamn stinking dump. Hello, Godfrey.
Hey, you can put the groceries... Nuts. Some fish.
Come on, quick. You'll buy that one. Yeah. You ever bang up, damn it. God damn it, I thought it was going to be a pit. You son of a bitch. Thank you.